discussion. And so with that, let me just say a small prayer, and then I will open it up for any dialogue that you want to have. And I request Chandra to please abjugate who comes first and so on and so forth. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Guruji, did you have any questions that you got online?
So, I had asked people not to send it to me ahead of time.
Okay.
Because last time there were very few, and I thought that we would just open it up for people to do that. So no, the answer is no.
Sounds good. So everyone, please raise your hand to ask a question, or put it in the chat. So we will go by the hands that are raised, and then we will also use the chat window for asking questions. I will read out the questions to Guruji, and then he can answer the questions. So right now we have.
I should just add rather that your questions don't have to be about today's topic. It can be in general about Vedanta.
Yeah. So we have Joe Shaker who has his hand. Go ahead.
Namaste, Vijayji. Thank you for the great session. I had a question, kind of tangential question, which is, are there any Vedanta study groups among your students that I could join? Because it's a good way to discuss and assimilate, I feel, and I've been missing that. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. So I think that they were more formal sessions for several years back when we started the Gita Vichara groups. This is how we started. We had about 7 or 8 of them. I personally have not been very active in managing or to even participating with them. So we have kind of let it go. There are some senior groups that have been meeting. There is one which is very regular about it. And there may be some others. So what I would request is that if you could send me an email and I would circulate it amongst people, even if there's some new one that needs to be started, we can do so. But at this point in time, I'm not aware of any basic structured group as such to do so.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. I'll send the email.
Okay.
Vijayji, this is Jyoti.
Yes.
I just want to tell you, because I take classes and, with one of your students when you all went through this course with Anaya. So with Anaya Deshpande, we are about, again, a small group of people, and we do interact and this thing. So there's opportunity for, discussions.
But Jyoti, do you normally have new people join in?
Well, we've not had not a new person join in for the last.
Yeah, see, that's the issue. That's the issue.
Because of the COVID, so yeah. But he has started a new group. I forgot about that. He started a new group, which is very, very recent, just in the past year.
Okay.
So she could join the new group.
Shekhar, I will ask you to, I'll give you Jyoti Lulla's email, and maybe the two of you can get together. That'd be nice. Good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is, one of your colleagues, that, and he went through your thing.
Yes.
So, Sujata, did you have any question?
I have, go ahead.
So who was that? Was that Rani?
Hello, Chandra, it's Rani.
Hi, Rani.
Hi. I have a question. Should I just ask?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Vijayji. It was a very nice session. I really appreciate hearing it on New Year's, close to New Year. I have been doing japa. I started doing mantra jap about 6 months ago. But I'm not initiated into any mantra. I have not had diksha. Is that really important? And is that something I should seek? Or is it okay that I just take my Ishta Devta and do a Nam Jap?
Yeah, so, I have never taken Diksha in that manner as well. And never really felt the need for it. I think the more important thing for me when I got started was my own internal commitment and is sort of like an unsaid devotion to making this as an important part of my life. And so I never really approached Swami Dayanand Ji, and neither has he ever offered it to me.
Mhm.
So I don't see the need for it. But on the other hand, if you were to have the help of someone to kind of give you an extra push in the form of a diksha,
Mhm.
that would be okay too. I don't know where you would go. You'd have to find a teacher. Since I never got a diksha, so I cannot give it to you. But if you really feel that, then what I would recommend is that you approach someone that you respect and trust and ask them for it. But frankly, I don't think there is a need for it. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll continue the way it is. If I feel I'm not making progress, then maybe I'll seek out that alternative.
Yeah, so what I would do is make Ishvara as your
Guru.
guru. And so this is what Sri Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, that whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you desire, make that centered on me, the Ishvara.
Mhm.
And that's all that one needs. Going back to the second sankalpa I was talking about is that our idea of Ishvara is too shallow. And we don't really quite have the depth because we don't trust it. This is the biggest problem we have. In our own Shraddha, we always have this feeling, well, I don't know, I'm going to give it a try, but if it doesn't work, then I don't know what I can do. This is not going to work.
Mhm.
You have to really, so this is Sarva Karma Sannyasa means that you have to just recognize the glory, the Mahima of Ishvara, slowly. And whatever happens is making Ishvara as the center of your life. And the more you study, the more clarity you get into this. In my life also, it was not as though wherever my understanding is about Ishvara, it didn't come slowly. I mean, it didn't come suddenly. It just slowly has grown. Now I am to a point really that whatever happens in my life, I am peaceful with it. And if nothing happens, I'll wait for the next life. If something happens, I will continue to do the best I can. But I never lose sight of the fact that there is a person who's the Antaryami, who is guiding me, who is giving me results. I don't lose sight of that anymore. And so that takes a long time for one to do. and it's not easy to do, but that is the best way for us to really do it. And so I would even just say that you don't need to have a special diksha from someone. That is the diksha from Ishvara.
Mhm.
That may you be with me day and night. And whatever happens to me, I recognize that it is your doing and it's not something that I'm independently capable of doing.
Right. I definitely feel that my faith in Ishvara is now much, much greater than when I started. And I mean, I think about Ishvara constantly throughout the day and anything that I do. So I feel that my Vishwas and Shraddha are
Good.
much greater. And I'm sure that there's more room. Room to
There always is for
continue
each one
here.
of us. Yeah. I cannot say I'm done. No, no way.
Thank you, Guruji.
Again, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand or put it in the chat window, and then I can read it out. Yes, Darshana, please go ahead. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
Namaste, Guruji. I have asked you this in an email, but I would like to know a little more about Devtas and what makes them the supreme than the human beings.
Okay. Yeah, so devatas are also beings. They're not human beings, but they are living beings. And devatas are the ones who have done a lot of good karmas in their previous lives. And as a result, they have acquired a higher status. And it is not different from anything else, like in government or business or something. If you really set your sights high, you can actually get promoted to better and better positions. So if you look at our senators and congressmen, they really want to represent everybody, and how much work is involved on their part, but they can get it. And then you could look for the president and how much work is involved. They can become like that. So the devatas are exactly like that. They are very ambitious, good people, and they want to have a certain amount of power and in the world, and they have deserved it, and they have been given those positions. Having said that, this is what people should not try to do. Do not try to become a devata yourself, which you are capable of doing. You can, in fact, become a devata, but it would take you thousands of lives of working hard and so on. And in the end, they also are limited. They don't have unlimited powers per se. So it is like, a president that can be reelected for 8 years, but after that, you have to give it up. So all the devatas, generally speaking, are limited. There are a few devatas who, in their position as devatas, have sought self-knowledge and have been given those. And so they are enjoying the presence of Ishvara while they are a devata. But after a certain amount of time, they would dissolve themselves, as we also should, in the very presence of Ishvara, becomes Ishvara. And so those are very few. There's, and I'm not an expert in that, but the main devatas like Agni and Vayu and so on, these are knowledgeable devatas. But there are a lot smaller devatas who are not knowledgeable. They are very helpful in fulfilling it. So, Darshana, the other thing is that one of the things that we do is whenever you pray to a devata, like you go to a Ganesha temple, pray to Ganesha, what happens is that you are assuming some of the powers of the devata if you are successful.
Oh,
You assume the power of the devata because when you give an oblation to a devata, then the devata blesses you by giving you his or her power to you up to a limited time.
okay.
So here I'll give you one example, okay? This is just one example. So my understanding of this also came late. I didn't quite understand this. But it wasn't until I started studying Swami Maheshanandaji's books that I realized how it happens. So like, for example, he says you go to Ganesha and you say, please remove obstacles from my life and make me successful. This is what Ganesha is really meant for. Actually, this is not completely understood. Ganesha gives two things. One removes the obstacles, and the other one is he gives you the wisdom to conduct your life better. So that part is not appreciated. But the wisdom is a phalam from the Ganesha Devata. And by the way, the ability to remove obstacles and to give you wisdom are interconnected.
Right.
This is what Swami Maheshanandaji pointed out, and I tell you, this has been a great revelation to me. Here's how. Let me just explain this. What I've found is that in my life, I am less confronted with obstacles than I used to be before. Less obstacles in my life. Things seem to happen. And you know why that is the case? It is because of a certain wisdom that I have acquired from my prayers and from my study, because I do not expect things unreasonably. See, this is the problem in our life, is that our results are coming in because the level of our expectations are very all over the place. Somehow we feel, I need to get this. And we get very upset if we don't get it. What happens in the wisdom is you don't even expect it that much. You're much more calibrated and structured in the way, if I want something, then I must have the ability to, and if I don't get it, that means I didn't deserve it. So that sense of things, I feel are less obstacles to me, honestly.
Okay.
So in that way, my prayers to Ganesha have been fruitful, that I don't even expect things that I'm not capable of wanting. This is how the devatas are.
So, to know that the Ganesh is a god of wisdom and removal of the obstacles, each devta, one must know that what they are capable of,
Yes,
what is
true.
right.
Very
So,
true. Very true.
right. So how does one find out, and what books or anything you recommend that one can read and understand about all these devtas? Because there are so many of them.
Correct.
Few of them we understand, like a Shiva and Saraswati and all that. We understand all that, but there are many more we don't know about. So anything you can recommend, please.
What I would say is that you don't need to be that comprehensive
Okay.
in going after the various devatas. I think just the main ones that we are all familiar with should be enough. So Ganesha for the things we talked about,
Yes.
then Krishna for the wisdom through the Gita, Saraswati for making sure that our learning, our love for learning is fructified, that we are not just sitting there doing, okay, now I've done my college, there's nothing more to learn. No, there's always some things to learn. Saraswati from that standpoint. And then Lakshmi, because Lakshmi is not just money, it is all different kinds of capabilities, Varalakshmi, Dhanalakshmi, etc. And my understanding of that, my ability to thank what I have rather than asking for what I don't have is also Lakshmi. So like that, you have 4 or 5, and that should be enough. There's no need to go into a very details because those are covered by for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Go ahead. Arvind, did you have a question?
Shanti Kumar?
Hey, hello.
Is it Arnie? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ronnie. I'm
Oh.
sorry, I got muted accidentally. I have a question somewhat related to the question that Darshana has asked. But I've been listening to different Swamiji's lectures on the internet quite a bit. And I don't know if my understanding is correct or not, but there is Devtas and there is Ishvara. And they're two, my understanding is that they're powers and capabilities. So Ishvara, like Ram and Krishna and Shiva, they are Ishvara, they're not Devtas. And then there are Devtas, like you said, the Devtas also have their powers for some time, and then maybe, after a while, they may not have those powers. But then the Sarvjnani and Sarvdata and the ultimate is Ishvara, and they're not different, right? Krishna, Ram, they're all avatars of Vishnu, and that they are more exalted, or they are at a different level from Devtas. Is that correct, or is that not correct? How would you?
No, but I think that's generally correct. Yes. So one thing to see is that the Ishvara is kind of like the ultimate person who is in charge of the whole creation. And then all the devatas are his deputies. In that sense, for example, if you look at the US government, then the law of the US government is paramount. But then those laws are given to the police for some functions, military for certain functions, the IRS for certain functions. So those are all devatas that serve the main person. So Ishvara is the ultimate. And there also, as you say, that Rama and Krishna and others are also avatars. And there's not that much difference between those avatars and you and I. We are also avatars, but we are bound by our previous actions, whereas the Krishna and Rama are not bound by their previous actions. They are specifically asked by Ishvara to go solve some problems. So they are also exalted beings. So in that sense that they are also deputed devatas for a specific purpose only. And so the ultimate is the Ishvara who's unseen. You cannot see Ishvara because that is you and I. Our consciousness is the Ishvara. And so that consciousness is always there and never really, Rama and Krishna can also come and go, but consciousness never leaves. And that is the real Ishvara. And this is what we have to really go to.
Thank you.
Shanti Kumar, you had your hand up. You're unmuted, but somehow we don't hear you. Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, uh, namaste to Guruji and namaste to everybody. Happy New Year to you, everybody.
So you are in
I'm
US
just
for the
trying
day?
to extend the discussions regarding Darshanaji and what Guruji has explained. I recollect that, when we pray Lord Ganesha, what we are trying to do is imbibe the symbolism which is explained by some of the Gurus, that the form of Ganesha itself is a creativity, an elephant face and human body. It's something not normally thought by people. So when we pray, we are asking God to give us the creativity in us or increase the creativity in us. So many of such symbolism which are there, like big ears, which we were normally taught from the childhood, that listen more and talk less. And the two tusks, one of them is broken, is the what I have understood is to break the raga dvesha. That itself is one of the greatest which we have been discussing a lot. And then the small eyes, when comparing to the body, it means focus in life. Then the trunk, which is there, which everybody knows probably, but just since it is the topic which has come, that I just want to recollect that. The trunk it is so soft, but very powerful. It can uproot a tree and also pick up a needle in the haystack. So we need to be flexible. Then the axe. One of the axe is to cut asunder all attachments. They're all symbolism. When we pray Ganesha, we are asking those qualities to come in us. So I think Darshanaji has really raised a very important point that way.
Good
So
point.
just few of them I want to share them.
Very good. Thank you for sharing all those details, some of which even I was not aware of. And so it is very good to know. But at the same time, I think, as I was answering Darshana's point also, that we should really focus on the primary gunas. And if we have a chance to go into some of the details, that would be wonderful. But if we don't, at least we should focus on the primary gunas that are espoused by each of the devatas.
Shubha with a question.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Happy New Year to everybody. My video is not playing. I'm on the phone. Is it okay to ask the question?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Can
Yeah.
hear you.
Namaste, Guruji. So I'm trying to articulate the question as best as I can. So first is you had mentioned that we should all be. We learned that we should live a dharmic life. So supposing some years back, I did something adharmic and I realize it now. So what should I be doing now so that I don't go into a lower level of birth the next janma? I don't know if I'm, yeah.
So, that's common to all of us. I think that if I look at my life also, there were instances where I didn't do things that I would do, so that's very common, what you're saying. So my advice to that would be that, let be gone whatever it is done. That's, you don't dwell on it, except that you draw some conclusions from it. Now that you are aware of what is right, what is wrong, then we should just follow the right path. But I think as far as doing remedial actions, prayaschitta karma, for previous adharmic actions, I wouldn't really spend a lot of time on it. So just because, we all have limited energies, limited emotional time, and it is much better to be focused now that we know better, as you say, that we should just focus on those things. If you want to do some extra work, then I think that you should help someone else as a remedial action. But the main thing would be to be focused on the right actions from now on and not worry too much about whatever has happened is happened.
Thank you,
Yes.
Guruji.
Yeah, it is. There is a saying, in fact, really, this is really very true, that if you have a sannyasi, a Swami, don't ask Swami about his previous life. Not previous life before this life, but even in this life. Don't, just let it go. Let it go. And so you should just continue to, because as Jacqueline, in the case of Valmiki and others who have committed some things, but once you take on to the right path, following the right path is the main objective from that point on. If you let your thoughts be bothered by regrets from the past, to that extent, your emotional energies will not be spent on the positive things in the rest of your life.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much, Guruji.
Arvind Taylor, is that a hand from you? Can you unmute? Arvind,
We
you
can
need.
hear you, Arvind.
Yeah, I did. So, and today's lecture was very inspiring. So, talking about develop trust and Shraddha, the second part, there is a slok in Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, Ye Jana Parivipasate, Tesam, I forget it, but
Yes.
Yoga Kshema
Yoga Kshema Vahamiyaham.
So that is, if we have real trust in God or whatever Ishwar you believe, then He will take care of you. And is that something we can correlate, develop trust? The second part.
So, sorry, somehow your question got, I didn't, restate your question having stated the Bhagavad Gita. Restate it.
The second part we discuss about develop the trust.
Correct.
So can we correlate that develop trust, the message from that sloka, Ananyas Chintayanto
Correct.
Mam,
Right.
and Yoga Kshem Vahamyaham.
Yeah.
So to me, if we have full faith in God, He will take care of us.
Right. Correct. No, that is true. So one thing, I'm sorry, are you still asking?
No.
Okay. So one thing that I would add to this is also something that I remember from Swami Chinmayananji's advice a long time ago. So what he used to say was that developing a faith in Ishvara does not mean that you absolve your own responsibility for leading a life. So, for making this point earlier, when I was talking about the two sankalpas, the two resolutions, I said that you think I'm leading the life, and so really Ishvara is leading the life. That doesn't mean that you just sit back and do nothing. That's not what it is talked about. What is talked about is that Ishvara may Ishvara give me the wisdom to conduct my life in a very sensible way. And that requires a lot of effort on my part. So in that sense, one can say this is kind of like the Nirguna Brahman. I'm sorry, Saguna Brahman. This is the Saguna Brahman, means that it is the quality of expression of the life. I have to conduct my life in a very wise and sensible way. Taking responsibilities, all of that has to be done. That doesn't mean that you just sit back and do nothing. However, ultimately, if you want to reach Nirguna Brahman, which is what we should do, not just Saguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman means the getting up in the morning and just then going back to sleep, and then just having this cycle of deep sleep, dream, and deep and waking, and so on and so forth, and just a samsari. But if you want to really reach the Nirguna Brahman, then along with your responsibilities for leading a life, you should let go. And this goes back to the Kamana. Don't think that you have the responsibility of conducting your desires and so on. Let them slowly go away and be content with who you are. And that slowly will take you to Nirguna Brahman. So in summary, giving the responsibility for Ishvara, for the conducting of the life and so on, is very important. But that doesn't mean that you absolve your own responsibility for doing the right thing in your own life. This is what Swami Chinmayananda used to say, are the two wings of a bird. If the bird loses one wing, it cannot fly. Both wings have to be active. And so one is the wisdom to conduct my life, which is also given by Ishvara. And the other one is letting go when results are not conducive to me, and just having a total shraddha towards the phaladatrittvam of Ishvara.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no more questions, then once again, our best wishes to each other for we are very fortunate people to be given an introduction to some deeper values of life, deeper truths of life, and may we be very serious and loyal, and in the diminishing time left in our life, to continue to follow the right sadhana. And in that sense, I think if we can think about and develop these two resolutions in our life, it will be very helpful. So best wishes. I thought that to make this very meaningful, I would go after some very specific things that we can work on. And if we can do so, I think our lives will be better. So my own best wishes for all of you. And so with that, thank you. Hari Om.
There you go.
Thank you, Guruji.